What's your best customer isn't always right story? Most satisfying customer interaction of my cashier career was having the manager back me up on refusing to process a return for incense that didn't taste good. I used to work at McDonald's. A woman came in and ordered a Big Mac, fries, and a drink, so I put her order in as a Big Mac combo since it is cheaper than getting those three things separately. She then proceeded to scream at me claiming that I am ripping her off and charging her for something she didn't even order. My manager then proceeded to simply charge her for those three things separately and she ended up paying more. I work at a concert venue. I had a customer call the day after the show wanting a refund because the artist did not play his favorite song during the show. I dealt with a lot of dumb shit as a camp director, but one that always sticks out in mind. After the week is over, a mother comes roaring up to me and has murder in her eye. Having I introduced myself to the families less than an hour before she knew I was an authority figure in the camp. She is irate over the fact that her son told her other campers were using foul and distasteful language in front of her son. Assuming the worst, I ask which words were used and she leans forward to me and whispers fart, balls and butthole. Without trying to laugh, I tell her I will discuss it with the staff. Did I mention that her son was a 15-year-old teen camper? Work in a takeout food business. A lady ordered a delivery with about 3 meals, one of which had mushrooms in. She called about, I would say, 15 minutes after receiving her order to complain that I tried to kill her by putting mushrooms in her meal. She did not state that she or anyone had a mushroom allergy and went to yell and demand free stuff. The yelling lasted about 10 minutes of her just yelling and threatening to report us, and all I could do was say why she did not state that she had an allergy. In the end she got nothing and funny enough ordered again about 3 weeks later. I was working at a hotel and a guy comes in and just slaps his ID on the counter without saying anything. I look up his reservation and it's not in the system. I tell him we don't have it and he flips out, starts calling me incompetent and saying he's going to call corporate, etc. Then he says he's been a Hilton Honors member for 5 years and how dare we lose your reservation. So I just pointed at the large sign on the wall behind me that said Holiday Inn Express. He said nothing, snatched his ID off the counter and left. I had a customer's father call and yell at me, because his daughter rented a storage unit at a different price he was quoted. His daughter, who was in her 30s mind you, had no problem with the price. No one at our location ever had a conversation with her father. I sat and listened to him tell me how awful at customer service I was, and all the people he referred to my location were going to move out now. Oh no. The kicker was his daughter left us a 5-star review on Yelp after she moved out, praising us for our stellar customer service. Worked at a popular cafe, so we got stupid shit all the time. My 2 favorite though. Once had a man flag me down and start shouting about this weird worm in his pie. I took a quick look at the pie and noticed it was actually a piece of onion. After a couple of minutes of calming the man down, I asked him what sort of pie he ordered. He'd ordered beef and onion. He had me fucking swap his half-eaten beef and onion pie for another beef and onion pie because of it. Another time I was delivering a large tray of food to a table. Everything going fine, just a couple sandwiches etc. As I'm about to walk away, the older guy at the table grabs my attention. The conversation went like this. Guy, is this cheese sandwich dairy-free? Me, as far as I'm aware we don't do dairy-free cheese, so no. Guy, no, I mean, does it have any milk products in? Me, yes, it's got cheese and butter. And Guy, well, can you bring me it back without the dairy products? Me, you want your cheese sandwich without any dairy products? Him, yes. I promptly returned it to my manager, let her know the situation and said good luck figuring that one out. Edit, wow, so many upvotes. Thanks guys. I worked for an airline. A customer calls in wanting to go to a city we don't fly to. No problem. I tell him we fly to city, and then they can take another airline to final destination. He starts screaming, are you new? How can you be so stupid? I am on your website and you do fly there. I explained that I had been employed a mere 25 years with that airline, but I'm always learning. Then I directed the customer to click on the connecting flight number, then read to me what it says. Flight 123 operated by other airline. Oh. Why he didn't just book it himself online will become apparent later. We continued on and I made the reservation. This customer complained every time I had to ask for info or say a federally mandated notification. Nothing unusual about that. I did politely ask him to keep his volume down because I could not help him with my ears ringing. Then I asked for the credit card number to complete the purchase. He started screaming again that he was not giving me his credit card, he was using his bank miles that cannot be accessed by me or the airline. I explained that his bank took his miles, then called us and actually purchased the ticket, with actual money. He went totally insane. Screeching. I let him know if he didn't clean up his filthy language, I was going to hang up on him. He then asked for a supervisor, which I was. Yippee. The co-worker I begged to take this call explained the situation calmly. I listened in. Then the customer said, I already tried calling the bank reservation line and they said I couldn't do it. Then they hung up on me. Believe it or not, most of my customers were lovely. This one, not so much. Lady comes into our restaurant, an hour before closing time, and announces she's having her bridal shower, at our restaurant, of 60 people in about 15 minutes from now. We tell her we'll do our best to accommodate them, but we already have a wedding party in our private room, which only seats 50 anyways, but we're happy to accommodate her group in the regular area, warning her that we aren't set up to just immediately feed this number of people, this late at night, all at once. I heard her say, well, this is ridiculous, I sent out invitations to my guests 2 months ago. My manager replied, well, we didn't get one of those. You've made no reservation, and we'll do what we can to feed your group, but the meals are not going to come out at the same time. Lady starts having a hissy fit about us ruining her dinner. Lamau. Kfee bitch. She was being rude enough that manager then informed her that we'd love to help her, but a party this large, at no notice, at the end of the night would require a 30% mandatory tip, and we would only stay open long enough to serve their food plus 20 minutes to eat. She stormed out, and a lot of her party ended up just eating dinner at our restaurant. We didn't enforce the required tip for them, because they had no other option. Most tipped at least 20% anyways. Several of them left glowing reviews for how accommodating we were and how great the staff was, how much they enjoyed the food, etc. When I used to work at DQ, there was some lady who literally made me cry over Butterfinger. She didn't understand that what we got was called ground butterfingers, and she wouldn't accept that I wasn't sabotaging her candy bars before making a blizzard with them. She made 2 other girls cry too. My boss ended up banning her from ever returning. The owners don't take shit from anyone, and I love that. I used to coach gymnastics for what were largely upper middle class and above clients. Dumb blonde housewife who managed to find a way to talk about how much money her husband makes in several conversations with me and others, tells me her husband wants to know why they were charged 13 times for the monthly tuition fees last year. I tell her we charge every 4 weeks, not every month. This is made very clear in the contract they sign, and on any of the literature about our class times and tuitions. A couple days later, her douche canoe of a husband comes in demanding an explanation as to why he was overcharged last year, because he was unsatisfied with the explanation I gave his wife. He's a big powerful salesman or something, and I'm just a dumb little girl who teaches kids to do somersaults. He was so smug, thinking he's going to school me on being so dumb, or worse, doing sketchy business. I once again explained that we charge in 4-week increments, not monthly. I explained that there are 52 weeks in a year, and 52/4 is 13. He still didn't get it, so I had to pull out a calendar and count it out to him. He got huffy and walked out. That was about 4 years ago, and they still bring their kids as far as I know. Blockbuster. This woman would repeatedly rent games and keep them until they cycled out of inventory and she would get charged for them. Then she would complain about the charges, stating she returned the game weeks ago. My pussy boss would always remove the charges, and then the game would magically be in the drop box the very next day. This happened all the fucking time with this lady. I even commented on her account every time it happened. Finally one time, I refused to remove the charge, and told her I was sick of her petty game. She called my boss, he listened to my side of the story, told me to remove her charges, and the next fucking day the game was in the drop box. I told him it happened again, and he transferred me to a different store. Fast forward a few months and the woman's 10-year-old daughter comes into my new store to rent American Pie. Ha ha. Sorry kid, you gotta have an adult come in and rent this for you. She goes out to her mom, who I can clearly see through the window, tells her what I said, and I get the most evil glare I have ever seen as she throws her car into reverse and leaves without a movie. I used to work at a buffet as a manager/cashier, and I remember this one customer that wanted a free meal because our food made her throw up. She claimed that she threw up in the bathroom, so I went to check up on it. The entire floor of the bathroom was littered with uneaten food straight from the buffet bar. I returned and, politely, called bullshit on her story. Her response, "And I shit you not, then are you calling me a liar? Do you really think I'd waste food like that?" I smugly proceed to checking the cameras. We had one facing the hallway leading towards the bathroom, and showing her the footage of her heaping a plate with food, entering the bathroom with said plate, and leaving with a magically empty plate. The look of horror and embarrassment on her face was priceless. She paid in the end too. I'm a long-haul flight attendant. Had a passenger on a flight once that had laid their 8 or 9-year-old on the ground to sleep. I asked the mother to politely pick her up as it wasn't safe, to which the mother informed me that it was safe and pulled the "I've done it plenty of times before" line. Things escalated dramatically from here when I insisted she pick her child up. It took 20 minutes of arguing, the waking of the entire aircraft, the captain, the purser and threats of restraint to calm her down. We eventually managed to get the child in the seat with a pillow I had found in the aircraft cupboard. The reason we can't have anyone on the floor is that in the event of sudden decompression, the masks won't reach ground level. A person has around 4 seconds of useful consciousness in a worst-case scenario, so the mother wouldn't be able to take her mask off to bend down, pick her child up and put her on oxygen. This is also the reason we tell you to put your own mask on before assisting others. It's a hell of a lot easier helping your child with their mask while you're conscious. It was Black Friday. We sold out of a certain product. The woman told me to remove every ad because I'm not allowed to advertise something I don't have. That's not how this works. I also had a customer try to park his truck in my store. Yes. You read that right. He said he is allowed to park there because it doesn't explicitly say no parking. Well sir, your ass doesn't explicitly say don't duck me. So how about you bend over? I used to work at Papa Murphy's and one day I was working a morning shift during the summer. We were short-staffed so I usually worked alone. The phone starts ringing so I answer it. Here's how the conversation on the phone went. Me, "Hi, thanks for calling Papa Murphy's on street name, how may I help you?" Customer, "Hi, I ordered a vegetarian pizza from you guys last night and you put chicken on it." Me, "Oh, sorry for the inconvenience. If you have the receipt and come in and show me proof of purchase I'll gladly remake the pizza for you." Customer, "Well I threw the receipt away and we already ate most of the pizza." Me, "Well I can't give you another pizza without proof of purchase. I can give you some free coupons if you'd like." Customer, "Free coupons? That's all you can do? I have the box right in front of me and I can bring it in to show you that we bought a pizza from you." Me, "A box? Papa Murphy's doesn't typically use boxes because we're a take and bake chain." Lady hung up the phone after that and didn't come in. People are so dumb. Worked at a retail pharmacy, and after Christmas the gift sets, bath, perfume, and shave, went on sale for 50% off. There were signs that clearly stated 50% off original price, all the sets clearly labeled with the original pricing. This woman loads her cart up with a bunch of bath sets, and tells me she's paying $2.50 for each set. The original price was $10, so the sale price would have been $5. I told her they were $5 and she flipped out saying she wasn't taking any of it. Cool beans, whatever, someone is gonna come along and buy them anyway. After I walked away she was telling the cashier how rude I was. She demands to know my name, and since I was still around the corner, I came back around and told her my name, pointed to my name tag, and lived for the look on her face. Mixture of disbelief, anger and embarrassment. Duck retail. I work as a cashier at a store with a really large bulk food section. We have tags and pens for customers to write down the code on the item they filled. All our coffees start with 18. A man came up with a code that was, for example, 1698, and he was very frustrated with me that it wasn't ringing in as his coffee. He kept telling me he had been coming to this store for 10 years and had this code memorized, so he couldn't figure out why I was making this mistake. When I pointed to the screen and showed him the code was exactly the same on the screen as his tag, he retorted, "Yes, I see the mistake you are making." I suggested calling my manager to help him, and he instead decided to go back and take a picture to prove me wrong. He came back almost 10 minutes later with the code being 1852, which wasn't even close. He shook his head and said, "This was so frustrating, I promise you that I will never return." I was so happy to see him go honestly and couldn't believe he still tried to make me feel guilty. I worked at a Hollywood video in the town I went to college. The wealthiest guy in town, millionaire plus, made his money in payday loans, literally earning off the backs of people he took advantage of. So his son was a frequent customer and was a real douche. He had the same first name as his dad and he kept taking his dad's credit card to pay for stuff. He let that slip once and we told him he wasn't allowed to do that anymore. He tried this a couple more times, getting more and more douchey each time. Finally his dad came in. I let him know that his son couldn't do this and he went off. Literally the stereotypical "I could buy you" crap. My son can go out and buy a plane right now in cash. Who the hell do you think you are telling him he can't buy a bag of popcorn? About 5 straight minutes of berating and talking to me like I was gutter trash. When he left, I was so angry I was trembling. I had to go to the back office for a half hour to calm down before I could deal with customers again. I got my petty revenge. I happened to be a shift leader, so I commented his account and every one of his family members that they'd have to show ID and could never rent with a single cent of late fee on their account. We had a bit of a grace amount. Dude was rich, but by God I was going to make him account for every $1.07 and do it in public in front of everyone else. Guy came up and paid with a $10 bill and was given his change. He then turns around and says, "No, I paid with a 20. And the cashier, a manager, said, "No sir. You paid with a 10. He again argued that he paid with a 20. The manager shrugs and says, "Fine, I'll count my drawdown and if the total is over, I'll return the change." The customer agrees, and she counts her draw. It was even. The dude gets irate and starts yelling about how he's positive he paid with a 20 and that the manager was lying. I was standing there, also a manager, watching the exchange and told him I would also count down the draw. So I counted it aloud, adding up everything in front of him, and once again showed him the reconcile receipt and the total on the calculator matched. "The draw is even, sir. You paid with a 10. Then he shakes his head and says, "Well, I disagree with that." "Sorry you disagree, but the draw is even, nothing else I can do." "You're wrong. I disagree." It got to the point where I had to tell him I wasn't giving him any money and wasn't going to count the draw again, as other people were waiting, so he left. How the duck do you disagree with an undeniable fact?